ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततन्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Verse 31. स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्म्याद्धियुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते. So Bhagavan has changed the stand in order to make Arjuna free from grief. And so earlier it was an absolute standpoint. I told you there are three standpoints here from which Bhagavan is talking. And one of that is an absolute standpoint, or let's say philosophical standpoint. From the standpoint of Atma, if you analyze properly, then you find that there is nothing to grieve for. I mean, there is no death for Atma, etc. We have seen that. And then from the angle of dharmic, from the moral standpoint, or a relative standpoint, also there is no cause of grief. Because after all, Arjuna can definitely tell to Bhagavan that, what you said about Atma, I am not able to appreciate totally because it's a very difficult thing. And therefore, I consider myself as a karta of this action of killing, etc. And definitely it is creating a guilt in me to kill all Drona and Bhishma, etc. And therefore I cannot fight. And that's the reason then Bhagavan wanted to tell him that from the standpoint of your own your own duty as a Kshatriya, you are supposed to fight this war, etc. And so from a relative standpoint, Bhagavan is trying to convince him. But not the Bhagavan's goal is not just a war. Of course we say that because all the time Bhagavan repeats Tasmad Yuddhasya Bharata, Tasmad Yuddhasya Bharata, etc. May you get up and fight, etc. Bhagavan is telling. But ultimately Bhagavan wants him to make him free from the grief, basically. That's the main goal in the Bhagavad Gita. Ashocyananga Shochastum, that was the Pratignya Vakyam, also opening statement. And therefore, that's the main thing. And so, even from the standpoint of a dharma, if one looks upon that it is my duty in this particular situation, which I have not called for, Arjuna is not called for. Arjuna is not, proclaimed the war. It was, thrust upon him, and therefore he, being a Kshatriya, he has to respond. Otherwise, the situation would be very bad. If dharma prevails, it was prevailing even before the Mahabharata war. And therefore, it is on part of Arjuna to, it's a duty on part of Arjuna to fight. So, and well, of course, and Arjuna himself was talking a lot in chapter 1, you know very well, that he was so much referring about dharma, etc. And it said that the societal confusions are there, that would be the result of the war, and he would be the cause for the confusion. And also he said, I think in the verse 44, he said, Utsanna kula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vasaha bhavatityanu shushruma iti anushruma. We have heard so, that Krishna, that those men who have destroyed the family duty, they are going to live in hell. So he as though refers a lot about dharma. So Bhagavan looked at it also from the standpoint of a dharma and trying to explain that you are talking a lot about dharma, then from dharma's standpoint only also you have to fight and don't grieve, etc., etc. So this is a thing. So we are seeing in this, and yes, and we started what is called dharma, because swadharmam is there. So dharma is classified basically in two types. The third also is there. You see, the one is a samanya dharma, other is a vishesha dharma, and the third is a apad dharma. Apad, the word also you can understand. Apad means apatti, crisis. And therefore, basically, there are three types of dharmas. And for a person, samanya dharma is very simple. Simple means it is universal. It is universal. So it doesn't depend upon a varna like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, etc. It does not depend upon a sex or a linga, etc., male, female, etc. Or it doesn't depend upon a ashrama also, brahmachari, grihastha. For all walks of life. One and all have to do this samanya dharma. He has these duties. And if you look into that, I have told you about the yama and niyama are the samanya dharmas. They are meant for all. In Ashtanga Yoga, there are 8 steps. The first 2 steps are this yama and niyama. Well, 5 yamas are there, 5 niyamas are there. They are samanya dharma for all. General rules or general duties for all the human beings. In spite of whatever the varna, ashrama, etc., whatever may be the sex, etc., ling, etc., everyone has this dharma. And we were discussing, apad dharma means which in a crisis, you are allowed to follow dharma in a very, very crisis. Well, I will give you one or two examples later. And basically all this dharma, etc., has been included in Dharma Shastra. And those Dharma Shastras are nothing but our smritis. Especially Manusmriti describes all this thing, and other Yagnavalkya Smriti and other smritis are also there. Describes what are the samanya dharma, what are the vishesha dharma, what are the apad dharmas, etc. So Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Smriti Granthas are basically Dharma Shastra. Anyway, so now Yama and Niyama. Yama, we have seen the 5 yamas of Ahimsa, Satyam, Asteyam, Abrahmacharyam and Aparigraha. Ahimsa also and it is a non-violence. And non-violence means not totally, one cannot be totally free from the violence. We should know that. Therefore, alpahimsa. Basically, alpahimsa should be there. Actually, one's life is always dependent upon, one life is dependent upon the other life. That's how it is. Even if you are a vegetarian, you are told to eat fresh. What is that fresh? You must be knowing. That fresh means which has a life. Once the life has gone from the fruits, vegetables and other things, you should not eat them. So they always tell you should eat the fresh. Means you just pick up from any, like your bhajis and other thing, whatever may be. So you just pluck it. And till, even if you pluck a vegetable, and you will find it is fresh means what? There is some life in that, and at that time you should eat, because if it has a life, they say like that, if what you eat has a life, then it will give you life. That's what the principle is, and therefore you are supposed to eat a life basically. Our life is totally dependent upon other life, and therefore himsa is bound to be there. Even vegetarians also are doing himsa, and therefore no, vegetarians are totally non-violent. No, that's not the case at all. And therefore vegetarians are also doing himsa, but then alpa himsa. And definitely there are other arguments also which we are not going in at this moment. And then well, himsa one can do at the level of, at the level of speech also, etc. One can do himsa at the level through the body also. One can do himsa at the level of mind also. And therefore one should never claim that I am a totally non-violent person. No one is there. No one. And if you look into all the aspects of himsa, violence, and if you look into our own life, we will find that there is a himsa. And therefore the meaning of ahimsa is not na-himsa. It's not in terms of a negation. That a particle is not in terms of a negation. It's in terms of a alpa himsa. Alpa himsa. Definitely vegetarians are doing less himsa compared to the people who are non-vegetarians. Yeah. And then satyam, that's another value, satyam. Satyam in terms of speaking the truth. And that is samanya dharma. And there is a apad dharma in which you are allowed to speak lie also. You are allowed to speak a lie if suppose a crisis occurs. Suppose your life is in danger. By speaking, if you speak a lie, or if you speak a truth, your life will be in a danger, then in such case you should not speak truth. And therefore this is apad dharma. So from samanya dharma, in a certain situation, in apatti means in a crisis, you are allowed to follow adharma. But that has been sanctioned from the smritis. There is a sanction from the Dharma Shastra. And then satyam, asatyam, asteyam also means stealing or taking. Even having a drashti also. Having an eye on somebody's wealth, having an eye on somebody's possession, that also is asteyam. That when will I get this thing from him, etc., etc. So someone else's property or someone else's possession, there is no vritti at all. There is no attitude even to grab somebody's thing, and therefore that is asteyam. Then brahmacharyam, chastity. Brahmacharyam has many meaning, but right now let's confine to our things. Then aparigraham. Aparigraham means simplicity. I have told you, and simplicity here is I should not be responsible for imbalance at any level, and therefore whenever I have got anything more, I should be ready to share with others. So sharing tendency you can call. Sharing tendency is a aparigraha. That is how we have to take, and this all is universal dharma. So that is called yama in Yoga Shastra. So ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, brahmacharyam, aparigraham. Now 5 niyamas are there. That's the second step in Ashtanga Yoga. That is shaucham, santoshaha, tapaha, swadhyaya and ishwar pranidhanam. So let's look into shaucham. This is also, as we said, this is also dharma. But which kind of dharma? Samanya dharma. This is dharma for all. It's a general rule for all human beings. Shaucham, cleanliness. So it's also universal duty. Hygiene, you can say. And you should keep your house, your dress, your surrounding, including the road in front. In India they do. Here need not be done. But in India they do. They even come out of the home and they clean the house, and they come out of the home. Don't throw the whatever is there inside in front of the road. They clean even partially the road. So everyone is doing no. But I have seen people are doing the road in the front of the house. They clean. So anyway, so this is how This is called Shaucham. Yeah, that's a universal value. And Santosham. And of course, in this pandemic situation, this Shaucham is becoming a so big value. Cleaning all the time with that, what is that? With the soap and other things. And anyway, Santosham, learning to be contented with what I have. And that shows there is a freedom from jealousy. When because never compare. Comparison brings this kind of a problem. Whenever you compare, you find somebody has something more. Definitely. Even a near surrounding also. You need not have to move around in a big circle. Even in a near circle around you will find something as something more from compared to you. And you always feel that there is a dissatisfaction. And that leads to jealousy also. And all evils. Once jealousy comes, means, my God. So, and the basic cause is that comparison. And it leads to comparison, leads to jealousy, leads to competition, leads to all kinds of evils. So, Santosham, learning to be contented with what you have. But then we will not have any progress. No, you can progress, but you can compete with yourself. That is the thing. Don't compare and compete with others. Then you cannot, avoid the evils. It will bring a lot of problems. You can compare with yourself, or your earlier stage, or right now, and how much you want to improve on. So compete with yourself. Bring excellence from yourself. So that is there. But Santosha, as such, Vedanti doesn't require all this. Vedanti need not even have to excel also, really speaking. Nothing. Whatever is there, I am Purna. That's understanding. There is no becoming involved. Any kind of a becoming is there, then so long the goal is very, 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 very far. So, but self-denial, when you do this kind of a thing, when you want to improve upon, then definitely there is a self-denial. And the self-denial is there when one cannot progress. One cannot appreciate what is. Tapa means self-discipline. And indiscipline, is a very easiest thing. So self-discipline is a fundamental duty of the human being. And it also includes punctuality also. Punctuality is a very great value. And it is considered even divine thing also. So basically, punctuality in terms of, like, let's say time. I'm talking about myself. If I say the class will start at by 4:15, then sometime 4:20, 4:30 if I start, then you will wonder what is that. Swami tells us that at 4:15 I will come. Start the meeting, and now he is sometime, and then Swami tells sometime, sharp 4:15 I will start. Why sharp? 4:15 itself is a sharp thing. Then why you put another adjective called sharp 4:15? I will start at sharp 4:15. Well, that shows a lack of punctuality on my part. So that is how, what I say, I mean it. When I say I will start at 4:15, then that's what I say, and I mean it. Then if what I say I mean it, I am not to use this adjective called sharp. That is the criteria. Anyway, so thought, word, deed, everything is basically has a one meaning. That's all. Thought, word and deed has a one meaning. This is tapaha, self-discipline. And well, that is also universal. That's meant for everyone. Whatever with the varna, whatever with the ashrama, whatever with the linga. And then swadhyaya, scriptural study, is also samanya dharma. Everyone has to study the scriptures. And well, scriptural teachers, the teachers definitely who are teaching, they have to study more. But all other peoples also should study some basic things. Because scriptures tell you how to, live a harmonious life. Our universities won't teach you how to live a harmonious life. They will teach you something, and they teach you certain skills also, impart knowledge also. But ultimately that's all meant for gaining money only. And therefore, how to live a harmonious life, etc., you will come to know through the Shastra. And therefore, Swadhyaya, scriptural study, is a very, very important thing. And all this university education, etc., does not teach you how to treat other person. Let's say wife. Let's say how to treat a wife. It doesn't teach. And that's how you find that the person is very highly qualified and highly skillful and everything, and very skillful and very, very successful even in a material life. But he doesn't have a good relation at home. He doesn't know how to treat the other people. Very, very reactive and all this. So that shows that he is lacking a certain education, a certain basic education. And what happens is many people do not know this fundamental thing, how to treat the other people. And the criteria, because for marriage there is no qualification required. That's a problem. You become only one qualification, that you turn to age 25 or between 30 or something. Well, that's enough. Then you are qualified. That's the only qualification for the marriage, and therefore after marriage lots of problems can arise. And that's how in Brahmacharya ashram they were, even before entering into Grihastha ashram, they were teaching all these things. In Brahmacharya ashram, everything that then Gurukulam, you learn how to live a harmonious life with others. Harmonious life is a dharmic life, basically. Harmony and dharma are they are synonyms. So so only age is a qualification for the marriage. You become ready for the marriage, and no other qualification. So people don't talk about also qualification. Well, universities don't talk about qualification even in the study before the marriage. Well, they don't talk, and therefore, in fact, getting marriage is required bigger qualifications, really, not just age. And otherwise, you will ill-treat, your spouse, whatever, and even children also. And then that becomes a parampara. Evam parampara praptam. Then your children will marry, and they will treat in the same way to their wife or a spouse, whatever, husband, etc., whatever. And therefore, this is how it continues. So, Swadhyaya is a very, very important thing. One should have an exposure to Shastra, scriptural study. And Swadhyaya is especially for Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, etc. All the people have to study the scriptures. What is that, Swamiji? Tell again, what are you saying? Only for Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra should not study? Shudra means, here we are not talking about a jati, don't worry about it. Shudra means the person in whom the predominance is of a tamo guna. He will not study at all. Where is a question of putting in front of the book? You want to put a book in front of him. He is not going to read. His tamo guna is predominant. And when tamo guna is predominant, you can't appreciate any other thing also. Anyway, so these are all gunas. What I am talking about, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, it is all guna. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha. Guna and karma. Basically guna. Guna, one has to become guna brahmana. Jati, etc., I don't know how it has entered into, but never. We don't consider by janma. Otherwise, Bhagavan says the whole srishti is chaturvarnyam. Whole srishti, every human being whoever is born is either of these four varnas only. Then what about Americans? Well, they don't have this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, etc. But Bhagavan says whatever is created by me in this creation, all these human beings, they all belong to either of these varnas only. So it includes even Africans and Americans and Chinese and all. And then you cannot say they are all jatis. Jati will be only up to, it is limited to the India. And in India also few people. There are so many Muslims and other, they don't have that kind of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. So we have to understand, and Bhagavan doesn't say jati at all. Three way we can, classification is based on the three main groups, based on jati, based on guna, based on karma. Bhagavan did not say jati at all. Guna karma vibhagasha. Even in the 18th chapter also, when he described, based on guna and karma. That is there in 18th chapter. Somehow this jati, it may be possible the person who was having that guna, certain disposition, sattva, etc., predominant, and born also in the family, whose father was also having that guna, etc. And so there was a brand then, Brahmana, etc. That's how the jati vyavastha might have come. I don't know from where it has come. Because in Veda it is not, it's a very, very big discussion. And in the Brahma Sutra, that is apashudradikarana. And in which, I think in a Brihadaranyaka there is a story. And one Raikwa was, I think, a king. And he went to some upasaka who was a Brahmana, and to learn some vidya, etc. And that Brahmana, instead of giving, he put some dakshina, etc. in front of him before study, etc. King put some dakshinas and everything, some gifts. And then he requested, teach me that particular upasana, etc. And this Brahmana was so wild. He called this king as a Shudra. Now, king, he was a Kshatriya only. And still it is called Shudra. And therefore, the Shuchad Adravati iti Shudra. That's where Bhashakara and even Vyasacharya also has made this Adhikaranam, Apashudra Adhikaranam. How can a king who is born in a Kshatriya family can be called as a Shudra? So, therefore, they transcend the jati. They go by guna. Shuchad Adravati. One who is very, very sorrowful. All the time sorrowful. He is called Shudra. Because the sorrow is born of tamoguna. And therefore, basically, because you cannot do. Once a sorrow arises, you cannot function at all. Where is a question of receiving knowledge? Even you won't like to do anything. You see, but the person is is under too much sorrow, he just sits. He won't do anything. So Rajoguna, Sattva-guna, both are as though overpowered by Tamoguna. And therefore, definitely, if Tamoguna is predominant, then he is definitely a Shudra. And so, that's how there it has been discussed. The discussion is there. That's, look, the Veda also does not accept this jati, etc. Otherwise, how can in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad this kind of a thing is there? A king who is a Kshatriya is called as a Shudra because Tamoguna predominant. And therefore, and one should not look upon anywhere else. I am a Swami right now. In all these four varnas are there in me only. I am Brahmana, I am Kshatriya, and I am Vaishya, and I am Shudra. And one has to grow upon. One has to definitely employ certain means. Well, we are going to see that perhaps in the Karma Yoga, we will try to see that. One has to employ the means by which one can convert oneself from the Shudra to the Brahmana. You see, even in our child, even our avasthas, Balyavastha, etc. What is there in Balyavastha? What is there? What do you think as a child? What is there? Nothing. He just eats and sleeps, nothing else. As though Tamoguna is predominant there. Most of the time, child sleeps. And he gets hungry, he cries, and he or she, whatever. And then, gets some food. And by that time, it takes a milk, by the time he sleeps also again. And this is how the life. So very initial life of a human being is of a Shudra. And then slowly becomes active and becomes so active. So active. Even if we tell him, please sit for some time, talk to us, he is not ready. He is not ready. He moves around and everywhere. He can't sit. So Rajoguna is predominant. And Rajoguna is predominant. And Rajoguna is predominant. Then again, slowly, Rajoguna is overpowered by Tamoguna. As the age proceeds, that, all enthusiasm and activity slowly comes down. And by the time he or she becomes old, well, again Tamoguna becomes predominant. And then Sattva never comes. One has to initiate Sattva-guna. And that is only one way and that is Karma Yoga, etc. That is the only way from Rajoguna way to Sattva. You can cross Rajoguna through this Karma Yoga. And therefore, otherwise, initially, if it is Tamoguna, and then in youth, is Rajoguna, and then as he, becomes a little more mature, Praudaha, then he should be having the Sattva Guna. No, no, no. Sattva Guna won't come like that. It's not that easy. One has to transcend both these gunas, an effect of the gunas rather. And for that one has to put efforts. One has to definitely put efforts. He is doing karma but not doing karma yoga. A person is active. A young guy who has a lot of goals in his life, he is very active, doing a lot of karmas, not karma yogas. So if he doing karma, then he remains at the level of Rajoguna only. Then he has to transcend. For that, karma should become karma yoga. That's an attitude. Attitude brings a change from Rajoguna. Basically, it's a mental thing only. And therefore, one can transcend definitely. But one should have the knowledge and swadhyaya, etc. If he has done, then he can definitely have it. Okay. So one should have a swadhyaya. This is also a samanya dharma, general duty. And finally, Ishwar Pranidhanam, surrender to Lord, is another samanya dharma. So this is how Panchayama and Panchaniyama, these 10 are samanya dharmas. Now, we have got now Vishesha dharma also, where this Swadharma will fall into this Vishesha dharma. The specific duties which will vary from group to group. So whether he is a Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya, or whether he is a Brahmachari, Grihastha, etc., or a sannyasi, or whether one is male or female, or whether one is working in a certain environment, office and etc., then depending upon all these things, he has a specific duties. And therefore, these are called Vishesha dharmas. And Vishesha dharma is called Swadharma. So, Swadharma means one's own duty. So, it is not a general duty. It's one's own duty. If I am a sannyasi, I have a certain duty. That's called Swadharma. That you don't have. What I have a duty as a sannyasi, you won't have. And then you, what duties you have, I will not have. And then male and female also, there are, they have different duties. And therefore, not that doing dishing, etc., or cooking, etc., is a duty of a woman, etc. But there are specific duties for the woman, specific duties for male also, which will not go into the detail. And definitely, and then the thing is, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Sannyasi, and then Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, definitely, they also have a specific duties. So all these Vishesha dharmas. So Brahmana have a Vishesha dharma called Swadharma. Kshatriya has a Vishesha dharma, specific duties. As a Kshatriya, then it is a Vishesha dharma. So our Varnashram dharma falls into Swadharma. Apart from Samanya dharmas which we discussed in terms of Yama and Niyama, so this Varnashram dharma falls into Swadharma. Now here, Varnashram dharma perhaps we may discuss little later, but we can see here in this context that Brahmana has no right to fight a war. A Brahmana fights, it is called adharma. So if he finds justice, he can only report to a Kshatriya. Just as we have no right to beat a thief, right? Or a burglar, let's say. We have got a law and order department, and suppose a thief has entered into your home, broke your home, etc., and you catch a thief, but you have to hand over to the police. So we have no right to punish. It is illegal and improper to punish. Of course, people take law in their hands, thinking that this police is not doing anything. People take the law in their hands and beating and killing also. But if police, beats, it is not papam. And I have seen several videos, even in this pandemic situation, where the police is, with the lathi, with the stick, they are beating the people. But nobody registers the case against them. You try to protect yourself. Why? Because that to protect law and order in this situation, pandemic situation, it is required. They have told you stay at home, and then you move around coming out. Either you get the infection or you spread the infection if you have. And therefore it is required to stay at home, and therefore to bring this law and order to keep the law and order, they are required to have everything. Not only why stick, they are having guns also. But I should not talk about guns, because here everyone has a gun. That's a different thing. Here, because that has been sanctioned from perhaps the Constitution of the United States, whatever, that for your own protection, You have to protect yourself. That's a swadharma, and therefore you should have a gun. Well, that's maybe their theory. But in India, generally, certain people have a license because they are like security people also. The people who are security officers in a different areas, etc. They also should have it because burglars or thieves and other people can come, and so they have to protect the society. I mean the residences, and therefore they have to have that thing. So under license they have, but other than this, police also have. And so police beat somebody, or then there is no papa. But if I beat somebody, well, it's a papa. So we have to understand that this is swadharma, a specific duty for everything. And so Brahmana takes a law and order in his hand, well, and try to beat somebody, kill somebody, then it is not proper. So even though the other person has done wrong, yeah, I have to do according to my varna, ashrama, according to my designation, etc. And therefore, so now in that context now, Swadharma for a Kshatriya, for a Arjuna, will be fighting a war. Definitely, it's a fighting war. So Bhagavan as though is telling Swadharmam aveksha. Aveksha means looking into, considering your own dharma as a Kshatriya, your own duty, considering your specific duty, well, you have to fight this war. So police can't say that I am born in India and ahimsa paramo dharmaha I have learnt, and therefore well, I can't keep the lathi, I can't keep the gun, and then definitely will be told that better you leave this job of police. Definitely he will be told. So therefore he is required to keep those weapons. Not only that, even our gods have weapons. All, and then that too, especially Shakti has all the weapons. My God, all types of weapons. She has so many hands, and in every hand there is something. Why gods, Swamiji? What is? They have fear or not? No. We try to create a fear in a society. We take in law and order in our hand, and therefore we follow adharma, and therefore to beat us she keeps. Anyway, so for putting it on our heads. So when we do papam, the Bhagavan gives this definitely punishment. He is a karma phala data. And so Shakti, through Shakti or through any other devata, ultimately I have told you that devatas give karma phala, but devatas are not karma phala data. Ishvara alone is in form of devatas. Ishvara is in form of everything. All jivas are his forms. Like the gold, has many forms. But ultimately every form is non-separate from the gold only. And therefore gold alone appears in different forms. So Ishvara alone appears in the form of all the jivas. There is no jiva as such. We have discussed all this now. And therefore devatas are also exalted jivas. They have done great punyas, etc. So they have got that sharira, etc. very exalted. And therefore Ishvara alone is a karma phala data. And through devatas he gives the karma phala. Anyway, so devatas also have weapons. But no devata, there is no case registered against devata. There is no case registered against this police also. Yeah, the same police, suppose without any fault, etc., kill somebody. I have seen yesterday I think there is some news here that police has killed, shot one person, 21-year-old boy or something. And there is a lot of uproar here, and because that person was innocent and something. Well, that's a different issue. But keeping law and under, they can fire also, they can kill also, there will not be any case registered. And Bhagavan also, as a karma phala data through devatas do that. So Arjuna, better be aware of your social duty, and this is the thing. Well, of course, now we will discuss some more thing in this Swadharma. This Karma Shastra or Dharma Shastra says ahimsa paramo dharma, non-violence is a duty for all. So there is always an exception to that rule. That's a samanya dharma, general rule, but there is an exception to that. So in certain cases, himsa is allowed, violence is allowed, and not only that, himsa becomes a duty. Even though ahimsa paramo dharma, non-violence is the best duty for each and everyone, but for a ruler, himsa is a duty. And so similarly with regard to satyam also, with speaking also, that's a general value we have seen also. ahimsa, satyam, etc. But there also certain exception is there in certain cases when a person is allowed to tell a lie. And I have told you that in a very extreme condition called apat dharma. Speaking lie is a dharma. Imagine, speaking lie is a dharma in a very extreme condition, very crisis in which the person is going to lose his life, etc. And that too not for Kshatriya. I know you will be keeping a ready question for me, but I am telling you, it's not for Kshatriya. But this is in general. If somebody is under the crisis where he may lose a life, then definitely is allowed. But that under what situation, etc. Swamiji tell us that's one can refer to Manusmriti. It's a very, very intricate thing. And I don't have to be frank enough with you. I don't have a complete idea of that thing. But there is called apat dharma is there. So asatyam also is accepted. Asatyam is an exception to the general value called satyam. Same way himsa is a exception to the ahimsa. That's ahimsa is a general rule. But himsa also is a dharma. Like ahimsa, himsa also is dharma for few people. For especially Kshatriyas, for the people who are made responsible to keep law and order to keep the law and order. So this is how every general rule will have exception. Every general rule. And same way we can sort of little bit discuss about that. Government gives a certain exception, especially when the tax, etc. is exempted. For some people they themselves consider that they are exempted from the tax. That's a dharma. They think that they are exempted. On their own they think. And so they always try to find out some means through chartered accountants, etc. that they do not have to pay any tax. But government permits a certain exception. That's a different issue. You don't consider that you are exempted. That's a different thing. Anyway, so government permitted some exemption, and similarly, even this situation right now, government has whatever the tax structure in India right now, there are a lot of relaxations they have brought in this pandemic situation. So that government permitted some exemptions, that's one thing. We don't take ourselves self-exempted. We consider that we are exempted. Well, that's not the criteria. Same way in traffic rules also you will find. It's a general rule. For traffic rules are all general rules. But there are exceptions. President's car or our Prime Minister's car or even or ambulance, all they do not have to obey general rules. So always there is a Samanya Dharma, that's called Utsarga in Sanskritam. And you will have an exception to that general rule is called Apavadaha. So this is a structure. And so this exceptions is for few people. For specific people. And that becomes a Vishesha Dharma. That exception becomes a Vishesha Dharma for that person. Like ahimsa is a general rule for each and everyone. But himsa becomes a dharma for a Kshatriya. Because he has to protect. And that also there are conditions. Not that he can immediately kill somebody. He can warn the person and this and don't do that and etc. Give a warning. I told you yesterday, samadama, bheda, etc. There are ways of doing. And still it becomes beyond control, etc. Well, then he has no other thing but to kill. And it is allowed. It is allowed. No one registers a case against that. Especially police, you will have see if they don't really break the rule and keep the law and order in a given situation. Well, then they can beat the person, they can kill the person, anything. They have certain degrees of bringing out the information from that criminal. They have a certain degree of tortures also, etc. They did give a torture. Everything is allowed. If we see that, we can't see that, but they are allowed. Not that the person is a psychological case. Don't think that a police is like that. He is allowed to do. They have been trained how to bring out he's telling lie that I have not done, etc., etc. Then they give a certain torture to the person and bring out the information, what is correct thing, etc. and the criminals speak out also later. Anyway, so similarly, Arjuna, this Utsarga rule is that you should not kill the people, and Apavada rule is killing is allowed for you. And so definitely, why you are feeling guilty to kill? It's a war, and for the sake of maintaining law and order, for curbing this adharma. And well, and other way also you should not have guilt, because we have already tried Samadama, Veda, etc. These are all non-violent methods employed by the Kshatriya. Samadama, Veda, etc. are not done by Brahmanas. Before giving a punishment, Kshatriya employs first non-violent methods. And if person doesn't understand, then give punishment called violent method. So, Samadama, Veda, etc. are the non-violent methods, and if they fail, then for the sake of dharma, definitely yuddha is required in Arjuna's case. In other situation, other thing is there. So dharma yuddha is perfectly moral. Bhagavan is trying to convince him that it is perfectly in order, and of course he is going to tell in 32nd and 33rd verse also a few more things about it. So, word Kshatriya is itself indicating this thing. That, Kshatat Trayate iti Kshatriya. Perhaps yesterday I told you, Kshataha means adharmaha. Kshataha or Kshatihi has a meaning in English, defect. And that's from the word Kshataha we have another word called Akshataha. And so that, our grain, especially full rice, is called akshata, because the rice can be broken also. You might have seen that all rice can be broken or can be the full. But so far as in puja is concerned, you have to use that full rice. That full rice is called akshata. Kshata means a defect, broken. Akshata means unbroken, etc. So that unbroken rice is called akshata. Anyway, it's a whole. And same way, kshatat trayate here. Kshataha means a defect. The adharma is one which breaks the society. Dharma makes makes a society together, and adharma makes a society creates a break in a society, divide the society, and therefore kshatat trayate, one who can definitely protect the society from this kshata, from this breaking, etc. So that is therefore this adharma is one which can definitely break, and therefore you are responsible for bringing the society into a harmony, and therefore dharma has to prevail, and so adharma has to be dealt with properly. So non-violent methods are all employed. It has not worked in case of Duryodhana Ani company, and therefore now you have to employ that method. But how do you protect the society from adharma? That's the question then. Only by changing the adharmic people. That is the first attempt, and that's also not job of a brahmana. Please understand this. No. This adharmic people is there. Now send him to brahmana, and he will teach him properly what is dharma and what are the advantages. No. Kshatriyas themselves will employ the method. That is called sama. So they will try to explain him, and then they give certain temptations, and I have told you all this. Then they will threaten also, etc. They will try to create fear also. All this is part of the duty of a Kshatriya. Now, Brahmana gives a teaching of dharma and adharma both in the brahmacharya ashrama, and that to initial phase of the life. Afterwards, their role is over. That role is over. And so dharma shikshan. Adharma shikshan also means this is called adharma. You should not choose this kind of activities in your life, etc. So both has to be given. And that is how in our Veda also the Karma Kanda is called the Dharma Shastra also in one way, because it gives a teaching of Dharma Mimamsa, they call, because basically Jaini Sutras are all Dharma Mimamsaka Sutras. And there they even adharma also. What is adharma also has been told very nicely. So athato dharma jignasa, athato dharma jignasa. Twice they call, same sutra. And then we consider athato dharma jignasa, athato adharma jignasa. Both jignasa should be there, both vichara should be there, both kind of analysis should be there, so that I can know I should not do certain things, I should not choose certain things, because that's called adharma. So unless one knows one, how can one choose that? And therefore one can avoid certain choices, and one cannot choose certain things. One can choose certain things based upon the learning of dharma and adharma both. So that is the part of Brahmana. But now in a given situation, when the person has committed adharma and he is going to do more, at that time Kshatriya's job is to make him understand, to convert from dharmika to adharmika person. As I told you, adharma is not an entity, otherwise we will throw it out and we can destroy adharma only. We can shoot arrows at the adharma, but adharma stays in the person. And so we should try to convert dharmic people to the dharmika person. That is the job of a Kshatriya. And then later also, and of course Samadama and Veda. And then if he is not ready for conversion, then we have to eliminate that adharmika person. I mean, capital punishment is required. So, and capital punishment is given by doctor also. Aim of a doctor is initially, certain limb is due to our diabetic, long diabetes, etc., and not controlling our habits of, properly the food habits. Then sometime it gangrene, etc., occurs. And then initially, if you show to a doctor will certain medicines and etc., through that they try to control. But if it doesn't come under the control, means that unhealthy limb, whatever it is, does not become healthy, then definitely they say we will have to remove that part. Whatever. Generally in the legs, etc., it happens sometimes. They remove the toes, or they remove the fingers, and they remove even the part of the leg also. They remove, because otherwise the whole body will be in danger. People die out of gangrene also, because the infection spreads throughout the body, and therefore you have to kill it. So unhealthy part should become healthy. For that initially they give medicine, they do a lot of other things, but if it doesn't, then they eliminate also. They give a capital punishment to that particular limb. Same way, Arjuna, you also, and that is what even Bhagavan also said, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam, vinashaya cha dushkrutam, dushkrutam adharmikanam vinashaya. So adharmika people, for the destruction of them, I take the avatar, etc. So anyway, so this is an accepted thing. Even the killing of the people who are adharmika, when the adharmic person gets killed, adharma also gets killed. Because adharma is followed by that person. Adharma as such doesn't grow. It grows in a person. It gets nourishment in a person. And therefore the person has to be killed. There is no way out. So Arjuna, you come under a Kshatriya group, and so you have to fight. So Swadharmam apicha avekshya, considering your own Varna Dharma. This is Varna Dharma, because Kshatriya. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya is on Varna. And so you are Kshatriya, so it is your Varna Dharma. Well, you have to fight this. You have to protect the Dharma. Na vikampitum arhasi. You should not act like a Brahmana. Na vikampitum. Don't swerve away from that Kshatriya. You are Kshatriya, and now you are talking about ahimsa, etc., and all this. Well, you are not a Brahmana. So don't act like a Brahmana. And I should follow non-violence, etc. And we very, very typical thing. We sometimes feel, when I read that chapter 1, I am amazed, how can Arjuna speak like this? Very intelligent person. He says, if we kill these atatais is hardcore criminals. There is a description of an atatai who has done 5 types of sins. Very, 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 very bad actions. Like our extremists. Those kind of action. And Shastra permits that if you know that he is an atatai, tells to a Kshatriya, that even if suppose there is no declaration of war, etc., and you are passing through a street and he is coming from the other side, and he is atatai, if you know very well, then you should kill right there without asking anybody. Such a permission has been given by the Shastra to a Kshatriya, that you can kill, at the spot. Just kill him. Need not be some kind of a fight, etc. He is moving just, he is going. And you see him and you kill him. And Arjuna says, well, all these atatais are there. And killing those atatais, we will get papa. Imagine. Killing atatais, hardcore criminals, the Kshatriya, is going to incur papa. A best example of a delusion. Well, hardcore criminals means police, wherever they see, they are allowed to kill them. Army has been told in Jammu Kashmir that wherever you find a hardcore criminal, don't wait to catch or etc. Kill them right at that moment. And it has been killed day before yesterday. Even a hardcore criminal. I mean, extremist. So, and whole society now, hails them. So nice. Including Prime Minister and everyone, tells them, that you definitely have done a good job and etc. etc. Well, so killing the person, this is Atatai kind of a thing, and this person, our great Arjuna, says, if I kill this Atatai, I will incur papa. Well, it's a punyam for a Kshatriya. This shows a tremendous confusion. Anyway, so that's how I said he has the disease of a Ragaha, Moha and Shoka. He's a great attachment for the Bhishma, etc. And from there a Moha also has arisen, and then it leads to Shoka also. Anyway, so Kshatriya should follow non-violence. Everybody should follow non-violence. Please understand this. Everybody should follow non-violence, including Kshatriya. But he should take to violence in a particular case. When adharma prevails, or you see adharmika and you try to employ non-violent methods and still it doesn't work, then he has to raise the weapon and kill him. So Arjuna, na vikampitu marasi. Don't waver from your dharma. Don't show me all non-violence and everything like a Brahmana. You should not talk like this. Don't act like a Brahmana. That's called na vikampitu marasi. And that's how, whereas, this Drona takes to a war, he was there in the war. Drona was a Brahmana and he is not supposed to take to this violence. So in the middle of the Mahabharata, this Bhima and others have criticized Drona, and that you have violated your own dharma. You are a Brahmana, you should teach archery, etc. And we all learnt archery from you. That's one thing. That's a beautiful thing, that's your dharma. But coming to the war here and lifting the arrows and everything, shooting the arrows, etc. Well, that's not your job. And Drona had no answer. He could not answer anything. When Bhima and everything argued in the middle of the war, he could not argue. Just because of some obligation, some temptation. Pujya Swami is to tell that, I don't want to tell that, but Pujya Swami is to tell very boldly that Drona was, having some kind of a lobha, greed was there. Some kind of an obligation, something he wanted in favor after the war from Duryodhana, etc. So basically, anyway, this is how. So Drona fights, it is wrong. Arjuna does not fight, it is wrong. So this is how it is. So Arjuna, don't waver, you should not waver. On the other hand, you should look upon this as a opportunity. Bhagavan is going to tell in the next verse also, this is a great opportunity for you, and don't look upon the war as a curse or something, or as a tragedy, etc. Look upon the war as a opportunity to even sacrifice your life for the sake of dharma, and Bhagavan is going to show the advantages also. And before I just conclude, I will give you a small example. During our freedom struggle, when our people used to go to jail, they call it as a jail bharo andolan. In Gujarati they used to tell. So people are ready and enthusiastic to go to the jail then in the freedom struggle. And when they come out, they had a great satisfaction that they had done something for the society, for the country, for the freedom of the country. Well, and other people also used to tell them as a tyagi, etc. And they also had a very great satisfaction. They considered going to jail as a virtue. And but because for any other purpose, if you go to jail other than this, it is not, it's a black mark. Suppose an example, don't take that way. Suppose you come to know that this Swami had gone to jail not for freedom struggle, for some other purpose. Suppose then you definitely from next time you will look me from a little different angle. Then what kind of a crime he might have committed, we should know. He has to go to jail. So going to jail is a black mark as such. But in a given situation, in a freedom struggle, going to jail was considering a heroic attitude. Heroic attitude. And so it was a great thing at that time. So similarly, Arjuna, for you, you have not called for a war, but it has thrust upon you. And you are a Kshatriya and you have to protect Dharma. And definitely you should not waver from this. Dharmyat yuddhat shreyaha anyaha na vidyate. Dharmyat, there is no dharma word here. Dharmyat. Dharmyam means dharmat anapetam dharmyam. Not opposed to dharma. Such kind of a war. Dharmyat yuddhat means the yuddha, the war which is not opposed to dharma. That kind of a thing. Well, other than that, anyat shreyaha na vidyate. Bhagavan says there is nothing greater than this dharma yuddha, which is, and dharmyam means righteous, moral, which is going to protect dharma, which is not opposed to dharma. That kind of a war, it has come as an opportunity for you, and you are Kshatriya. You can't get a better opportunity than this. And well, for a Kshatriya, there is no better opportunity. So this is how we have completed this verse. Now another two verses are there, so in which also Bhagavan explains from that moral angle or from a dharmic angle to Arjuna, so that he can be ready for a fight. And Bhagavan was very successful. You and me know that he was very successful. So he is employing that. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.